Okay, we're sitting here in beautiful sunny Tucson in Hillary's backyard, actually. Hillary, thanks for taking the time to talk to me and to everyone watching this, hopefully. You've just come back from Ultraman. We know you've done 47 Ironmans and blah, 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 but what made you choose Ultraman and how was it?
I've been interested in Ultraman since 2004 when Jonas Colting went and did it. He is a good friend of mine and he's won the race now twice. And when he went for the first time in 2004, that was the first time I really followed the race, and just through that experience of tracking it for 3 days and witnessing Jonas's sort of trepidation throughout the entire process really got me intrigued by the whole thing, because I'm like, holy cow, if it scares this guy who's a stud Ironman athlete that much, this must be a big challenge. And so I really had it, it must be legit. I had it in the back of my head ever since 2004. And this summer, Mike and I did a training camp in Hawaii, and I was able to check out some of the course. And I really, over that time, fell in love with the island, and in sussing out a bit of the course, got a sense for just how big of a challenge it would actually be. And I really decided that I couldn't wait any longer, hence this year.
2010. So you come from a swimming background, but so it's 10K swim, 90 mile bike, 172 mile bike, which seems, I like to ride my bike, but not that much.
Same with me.
And then double marathon. Just give us a quick analysis of how the day went. What was going through your mind, just through?
Well, the swim, I will say, was the one part of the race that was easier than I expected it to be. I had swum the 10K course this summer with Mike, but we had done it unsupported, and when you're swimming out there in pretty warm water without any fuel or hydration, that kind of thing, and also without an escort, you're just kind of out there and perhaps getting in a bad current, that kind of thing. Doing that swim in the race ended up being a whole lot easier than the one time I had done it. That was a pleasant surprise. I swam a lot faster than I expected, and that was where the easy part ended. I mean, the rest of it really was, to me, harder than it looked on paper. Not that it looked easy, but it was harder than I expected, especially the bike ride. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I pretty much was hating my life for the entire 262 miles.
That's a long time to hate your life.
It's a freaking long time.
I don't know, maybe 13, 14 hours, somewhere in there, 14 hours, something like that.
It was, just over 14 probably. So that was a real struggle, and I truly couldn't have imagined how bad I would feel on day 2. I thought, sure, everyone's had those days when they've had horrific runs. That's the time that you expect things to really fall to pieces and things to really, really hurt and for your body to sort of go crazy. But that happened to me on day 2 on the bike, which was just really a very unpleasantly alarming experience. And then the run, I expected it to be hard. It was hard. I did have a pleasant surprise at the end in that I actually felt quite good and was able to move probably the best I did all day in the last 16 miles. So that was lovely, but it also allowed me to really crush myself because I could dig in through the 40-something miles, and I managed to do a number on myself. So I put myself in the hurt box big time because I was able to feel good and push it.
So you finished, for those who don't know, you finished in second place. Second place, first shot at it. The winner broke the old course record by a significant amount. Are you going to go back? Yeah, no, you don't have to commit, but...
I had 3 goals going into this race. One was to break the swim course record, one was to win... Check. One was to win the race, and one was to break the course record. And both the swim course record and the overall course record had actually stood since 1989. So I recognized that those 2 goals would be quite daunting. I also recognized that winning the event was going to be a major undertaking because I was not only up against Shanna Armstrong, who'd won the race the last 6 years in a row, but I was up against Amber Monforte, who had done her first Ultraman last year in Canada and set a world best time in the event. Granted, it was a different course, but she had recorded the fastest time ever for this distance, and had beaten Shanna quite handily in that race. So I knew she'd be a really strong competitor. I knew all of these things were going to be quite a big task. Now I came away from it actually breaking the swim course record and being an hour and 5 minutes under the old course record, which I thought was pretty significant. And if you had asked me ahead of time, I thought that my time would have done it. That would have been good enough to win. But as it happened, Amber and Shanna both, I think, really, really lifted their game. I mean, even Shanna went over an hour faster than she ever had on this course. And it's not that we had perfect conditions. But the level of competition in the women's race this year was far higher than had it ever been. And, you know, as a result, I think we all smashed ourselves and all kind of exceeded our expectations. But since I did not take care of my third goal, I definitely need to go back. I don't know if it'll be next year, but I'll be back. I need to get a win there someday.
Is there anything you learned from trip 1 that you would do differently on second time round, or?
A lot of things. I think perhaps the biggest lesson. I mean, I would say I lost the race. I mean, I was 37 minutes behind Amber in the end, which is a lot, but not a lot over 24 plus hours. And if I had to pinpoint it, I would say I lost the race on day 2. She rode 30 minutes faster than I did on day 2, even though I was still under the previous record for that stage. And mentally, not only did I physically lose it on day 2, but I also lost it mentally. And I was struggling so much that I was certain when I crossed that line that day that she would have been 90 minutes ahead of me. Now, had someone told me out there, actually, she's only 20 minutes down the road at this time, I think maybe I could have found something else, you know. And so it was just a great lesson for me, both on the bike on the second day and on the run, in that, you know, I have to kind of change my perception of what it means to feel bad, because I have a perception of what it means to feel bad at Ironman. But at Ultraman, it's a whole different can of worms, because I was feeling like worse than I thought I had ever felt on a bike in my life, and yet I wasn't nearly as far off the pace as I thought I would be. So I have to kind of change my expectations and my sense for pace and what feels good and bad that way. And then there are also a ton of like technical and like logistical things that I would fix in the way that I work with my crew, in the gear that I wear, in the salt tablets that I take, in the, you know, medicine that I pack in the car, like Imodium. You know, my crew had to drive off and buy me Imodium and that kind of thing. All those little things add up, and I have a whole list of things that I would fix for next time.
Cool, sweet. Well, I think it's impressive you finished second on your first shot. So you, going into the race, it was on a training front too. It was a whole new experience for you. You're working with a new coach. Who is it? You know, how are things going? Do you want to?
My new coach is Derek Williamson. He's out of Austin, and he has a company called Dorada Training. And I found him because he works with a couple of other women that I race against who have really, really improved a ton, and both of them had phenomenal seasons this year. And I sort of have watched their improvement, and you know, when I was looking for a coach, I mean, that's what you look for. You look for who is working with athletes of my caliber who are still really making significant gains. And in Kelly Williamson and Jessica Jacobs are two of Derek's athletes. I saw them both taking great strides, and so that to me really spoke, you know, about his abilities. And then I talked to him, and his coaching philosophy made a lot of sense to me. And he's opened up kind of a whole new world of cycling for me already, in that we're doing power training. I know this is a novel concept, but I've never done it before. A power meter was something I kind of just looked at the numbers, and I didn't know what to do with them. I just looked at them, and I had an idea what they meant, but I didn't know where they should be in a training or in racing. And Derek gives me a bike ride and says, hour 1 you're with these watts, and hour 2 this, and hour 3 this, and in the race you need to do this. And it's all very specific. And my training now is changing into something. It's going from just, you know, kind of throwing darts at the dartboard and hoping things work out on race day to something very specific. I mean, Derek tells me what sort of benchmarks we need to hit along the way.